Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday service here at First Jefferson. Just a reminder, we're going to start it out the same way we've been doing since we came back with our song, Breathe In, Breathe Out. Sing that a few times for you to prepare for our time together. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Good morning and welcome to First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church in Fort Worth, Texas. My name is Annie Furster and I am the minister here.
And I am Michael Zepeda. I'm your lay leader this morning. Although now we have forgotten. We have upgraded that position, and so I am your co-celebrant this morning. Lovely to see all of you. If you'd like to be among the pool of co-celebrants, the worship arts team is holding a training class on October the 3rd after services. So look for information in the newsletter or the weekend updates and then sign up. Put it on your calendar, October 3rd.
That's right, Michael. And speaking of calendars, today marks the 195th anniversary of the first meeting of the Transcendentalist Club. It was not only a way to look at faith by viewing nature as a catalyst for learning about God and yourself, but it seemed to encourage new ways of looking at all of society's problems. During this time, the Reverend Theodore Parker was funneling cash to terrorists who hoped to capture American military weapons and establish a state for freed slaves on American soil. The Reverend Ralph Waldo Emerson had written of transcendentalism. He wrote, "I became a transparent eyeball. I am nothing, but I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am a part of God." It was big stuff in those days. Margaret Fuller was landing the first major blows for women's rights in America, and Amos Bronson Alcott had set up a school where misbehaving students were punished by having to strike him. Now, is that different?
I see your topic today is embracing possibility. Are you advocating any drastic changes like that in how we ought to behave?
Not quite that drastic, but looking toward the future will be part of my message. What's going on around church? Do you know what's going on today, Michael?
Well, the board is meeting today at 1 o'clock in Jagger's Parlor. If you have any questions or any statements to make, feel free to come on in. But even more fun, there is a group that will be leaving from the parking lot today after a brief sandwich lunch for the annual trash bash to pick up trash along the Trinity River levees. I do also have an announcement here. Dan Sexton will be chairing our service auction this year. It is scheduled for November the 13th, so put that on your calendar now. Tickets will be on sale soon, and we are ready to begin accepting donations, so give some thought to what you might contribute to that effort.
And that, along that line, look at that beautiful quilt that Mary Kerwin made that's out in the lobby that's going to be raffled off. Well, this is exciting, so let's get started. Our pianist, Misha Beresnev, will open the service with Mozart's Allegro from Sonata in C major. Misha? Thank
you.
Our call to worship this morning was written by the Reverend Grace Haley, and she called it, "Let Astonishment Be Possible." However you have come in anticipating, whatever you expect, whenever you worry for our world, for the future, or our lives, let it go.
Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape.
Let astonishment be possible at this life that remains a miracle.
Imagine here the bursting of joy.
Relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story and silence.
And still this dreaming together, being hope for each other, and courage to believe in this new day dawning for us all.
Come, let us worship together. A chalice lighting this morning, Michael, will you light it while I read? Is written by the Reverend Scott Taylor. May this flame cast its light toward the coming days, reminding us that the future is not simply a place where we are going, but a place we are creating. The path of new possibilities will not be found. It will be made. A new world is waiting to be built. May our time together light the way. Please join us in singing our opening hymn. The words will be on the screen, but if you want to use the hymnal, it's number 295. Sing out praises for the journey. And saying our affirmation as we do each Sunday. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. Our call to worship this morning advised us to let astonishment be possible. When I read that, I immediately pictured a curmudgeonly old man, like, remember the ones portrayed by Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in the 90s movie Grumpy Old Men? "Nothing surprises me," he would complain. I was charmed then even more by the sentiment. Let astonishment be possible. The look of astonishment is open mouth, open eyes. That's the way we see new possibilities. Are you prepared to be astonished? Are you prepared to embrace possibility? That's my questions for this morning. And now I am delighted this morning to be able to introduce you to our new acting choir director, Michael Newen. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then he'll teach you some harmonies. Come on up, Michael, to the introit song so you can change it up every morning if you wish. He's coming up here. I'll tell you his title is acting choir director because he graduates in January, and we don't know if we get to keep him yet. Michael, let's sit down.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Nguyen. I am a student teacher right now at Untitled, and I'm a music education major at Texas Western University. So there's one motto that I like to live by: everyone is a singer. Yes, everyone can music, everyone is a singer, okay? So this morning when Brian was teaching everyone, or just leading everyone in the breathe in, breathe out, there's actually 3 parts to that song. We just sang the melody, okay? So I'm gonna sing all 3 parts. Just listen for now, and then we'll do some cool things later. Go ahead, Misha. So this is part 1. Ready? Breathe in, breathe out. Easy, right? Breathe in, breathe out. This is the second part, the melody. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Everyone knows that part. Now the third part is the coolest part. And go ahead. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. All right, so let's do something cool. All right, this is group 1, okay? This is group 2, and this is group 3. Group 1, your job is to just sing breathe in, breathe out. You guys get the easy part, all right? And then when I point to each person or each group, that's when you sing, all right? So let's just have the intro. In, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. All right, group 2. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. One more time. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Keep going. Group 3. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. One more time. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Yay, so now you guys can do it whenever you want in the beginning, right? And so I would like to invite any of you guys who would like to join us on Wednesday nights here at 7 o'clock. I'll be leading some rehearsals, and we're working on some really, really cool music, okay? We'd love to have you. Everyone is a singer. No matter what choir experience you have, come and join us. Cool? All right, thank you.
That once a month we're going to have a light on music. Excuse me, I dropped something. I'm back. And he will do light on music and teach us a new hymn from the hymn book that maybe we haven't used before. This is the time for the story for all ages, and this is a true story. It's about Carolyn Veach. You may have heard the name Veach, and I'll explain to you where you might have heard it. There was a woman by the name of Carolyn Evans, born in April of 1870, who grew up in Evansville, Indiana. Yeah, her parents were those Evanses, where her grandfather had helped build the first public school in the community so that children would have a school that didn't teach religion, especially one that wasn't theirs. So you can see she's already sort of kind of one of ours. In 1902, Carrie, as she was called, married Arthur Veach. And she and Arthur traveled all over the world. His job was chair of the geology department in Louisiana State University, gave them all kinds of places to go. They lived in Wyoming, in Australia, they lived in New Zealand for a while, and finally they came back and built a house in Plan Dome, Long Island, a suburb of New York City. Arthur was always willing to be astonished by possibilities, and he began to prospect for oil, and he acquired rights to a potential oil field in Germany. Now, he died in 1938, and he left the royalty rights to Carrie. And that was a possibility whose potential they could not imagine. Well, Carrie Veach suffered from spinal arthritis, which left her unable to walk at all. And although she was then a member of the Episcopalian church in town, she became aware of a new church being built in a town called the North Shore Unitarian Church. Her physical therapist talked about how wonderful this church was, how the people believed in freedom to worship without doctrine, but out of their own experience and with love for one another. Carrie thought this was a good idea, and she offered to donate some money to the building fund. And because she was in a wheelchair and ramps hadn't been built at the new church, she was never able to attend. But the minister, grateful for her contribution to the building fund, called on her periodically and told her what was going on with the congregation. And for the next 8 years, sometimes together with his wife, he visited Carrie at least every other week. Describing her in his memoirs, he said, "I sensed at once that she was a person of poise and dignity, as well as of warmth and friendliness." Carrie was interested in the new Unitarian Society, especially in the church newsletter and the minister's sermons, often discussing them with him when he visited, and expressing particular concern for the work of the Unitarian Service Committee. Though not a member of the church, she did give generously to both the service committee and to that church, including another gift to the building fund when the congregation grew so large they had to make larger quarters for themselves. And after about 2.5 years, she decided to leave something to the church in her will, because as she wrote, "I like what it is doing, and I believe a splendid future lies ahead for this church. But in order to make a bequest for it, I shall have to have a lawyer to rewrite my existing will." And she asked the minister, "Do you have a lawyer in your church congregation who would be willing to rewrite my will for me?" Well, they did, indeed, and the will was soon rewritten, giving half of her estate to the church. And then she signed the membership book. Well, after the Nazi takeover of Germany during World War II and several corporate reorganizations, Carrie one day realized she had not received any royalty payments on the German oil field. And so she asked that same church lawyer to look into this for her. And she said, if you're successful in getting my royalties paid, I will give half of the overdue payment to the church. Well, after 2 years of effort, I mean, you can imagine, this was in Germany. We were not real friendly with Germany afterward. The lawyer succeeded in sorting out the records and conflicting claims, and in 1952, he remitted $7,168 to Carrie. 1952 money, that's big, who promptly gave half of that to the congregation. And then she continued to share subsequent payments and told the minister that she not only intended to split all such future income 50-50 as long as she lived, but she was going to leave her oil rights to the church in her will. They never had any children, and the church kind of became her children. Well, in 1953, Carrie died, and the church received a little something from those royalties every year. But when natural gas was discovered in the German oil fields, the bequest suddenly became quite valuable. By 1973, the congregation's annual return from the oil fields reached $10 million annually. During the next 3 years, it climbed to $20 million. And each year, the congregation faced the pleasant responsibility of deciding what to do with this unexpected wealth. From the beginning, the North Shore Society mirrored Carey's generosity by giving loans and grants to neighboring Unitarian congregations. It also made substantial gifts to the denomination. On 2 separate occasions, it saved the Unitarian Universalist Association from filing for bankruptcy. Because of Carey's generosity and the continuing generosity of the church, many worthwhile social justice, building and growth projects have been accomplished, with eyes and mouth wide open in astonishment at the way this generosity multiplied. New possibilities were discovered that helped Unitarian Universalism to flourish. Yes.
Generosity has a way of multiplying over time. I don't imagine many of us have any oil field rights in our pockets this morning,
No.
but you might still show your generosity by throwing a few extra dollars into the offering. Half of what you give that is not designated as part of your pledge will be given to Eastside Community Services, who offer food from the food bank to the community and necessary items such as clothing and products like toothpaste and soap. As Misha plays Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag, will the ushers please come forward to take the morning offering?
Where else can you find Mozart and Joplin in the same program? I love this place. Thank you, Misha. My first response is titled, The Practice of Possibility. You know, I was happy to find that story about Carolyn Veach because I have personally benefited from the Veach Fund without even knowing much about it, what it was and how it was created. I received a grant that paid part of my tuition to seminary in the 80s. Several of the congregations I served were beneficiaries of the Veach's Fund's generosity for building projects. And I'm pleased that it came about because Carey, the minister, the several lawyers in the congregation, and the congregation as a whole saw possibilities where none had existed before. Carey, a born Episcopalian, saw possibilities in this new church that embraced diversity. The minister saw possibilities in a woman who was not able to leave her home and visit the church, but whom he embraced as a member nonetheless. The lawyers saw possibilities in creating a fund for giving to others in their unexpected windfall, and they gave their time pro bono to make it happen. And possibilities grew from generosity. Possibilities grow from many things. The trick is to be aware of them, to be prepared to be astonished by them. Emily Dickinson knew about possibility. She was prepared for possibility when she wrote this poem. I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors, of chambers as the cedars impregnable of eye, and for an everlasting roof and gambrels in the sky, of visitors the fairest, for occupation this, the spreading wide my narrow hands, to gather paradise. I especially love that in that entire poem, there are no periods at the end of sentences. Every line ends in an em dash, anticipating further possibilities to dwell in. Here's another possibility. In the year 2000, Benjamin Zander, then conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, and his wife Rosamund Stone Zander, a family therapist, wrote a book titled The Art of Possibility. You know, I have moved this copy of the book from house to house, bookcase to bookcase at least half a dozen times since I purchased it, and every time I've picked it up, I found something new to get excited about. The Zanders understand the need to be astonished by possibility because it isn't always obvious. The first chapter in their book tells this brief story. A shoe factory decided to send 2 marketing scouts to a region in Africa to study the prospects for expanding their business. One of them sent back a telegram saying, "Situation hopeless. Stop. No one wears shoes." But the other wrote back triumphantly, "Glorious business opportunity. Stop. They have no shoes." The Zanders stress that possibility needs to be practiced. Looking for possibilities, seeing them all around you, all of it needs to be practiced. And I'm going to give you an opportunity. Look at the cover of your order of service. There's nothing on it but the title and 9. But it offers you a practice in possibility. And here's what it is. Find a pencil if you can, a pen. Connect all the dots by drawing 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil. Give it a try. Some of you have probably seen this before, but give it a try anyway. I'm going to give you a minute to try it to see if you wish to do it. Prepare to be astonished by the possibilities that it can be done. Prepare to have both your eyes wide open. Go ahead. Open your mouth too and stick your tongue out if it helps. I'm prepared to wait all day until you find a way. Oh, I've got one hand raised, and to show it to your neighbor, but that wouldn't be practical and you wouldn't get to hear the choir sing, so I'm going to show you. May I have the slide with the more being possible. Possibilities are invented, suggests the Zanders. You can't just rely on the maps that have been drawn for you. Sometimes you have to create your own map, your own detours. Now, I could go on and on about the stories in this little book. Instead, I suggest you go out and buy it or borrow it from the library. And I tell you, you will not be sorry. Here's another example for preparing yourself to be astonished by possibility. Unitarian Universalist minister and author Robert Fulghum tells a story about a group of young men who considered something you might have thought would be totally impossible. He calls this true story the Chair Men. It seems he gave a ride to two young college students who lived near him because they were in danger of being late for work one day. And as he asked them as he drove, "What's happening in your lives?" And they said, "We're eating a chair." And he said, "What?" Well, their college philosophy teacher had given them an extra credit assignment. Do something unique and memorable, not dangerous or foolish, but something imaginative, inventive, and instructive. Write about your project and explain what you learned and how it might apply to the philosophy of your life. So this group of young men went out and bought a plain wooden kitchen chair at an unfinished furniture store, and using a wood rasp, they had been shaving the chair and mixing the sawdust into their granola for breakfast and sprinkling it on their salads at dinner time. And at that point, they had already consumed most of a leg, 2 rungs, and a back piece. They were in the process of enlisting others to help them. And what they learned was this: long-term goals can be achieved in incremental stages. They have been using this lesson to get fit by running, and by imagining that their running is being done elsewhere in the world, they were visiting places in their mind they had always wanted to go to. They were learning patience and perseverance. They were learning to stay focused on a goal. They were prepared, they said of their professor, to blow the dude away with their project. And Fulgham concludes the story by saying, "Some things cannot be had except on a little at a time, keep the long goal in mind, stay focused basis." Love and friendship are like that, he said. Marriage and parenthood too, and peace and justice and social change. As wonderfully silly as it seems, eating a chair may lead my young friends to wisdom and nobler aspirations. Who knows what a difference they might make? Well, I'll tell you who knows. The choir knows. Let us tell you all about it.
Against all odds, I can live to share my love with others. Yes, I will make the difference. I can make it. Take my hand as we make this journey across the land.
Space for a New Possibility by Gretchen Haley. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes, and forwarded emails as if the new zodiac, capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way, as if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we thought, as if we are not also actors in this still unfolding story. For this hour, we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to have it all already figured out, and also the burden of believing that we either have all the control or none. Here in our songs, in our silence, our stories, and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith, that we believe still a new world is possible, that we are creating it already, here and now. We cannot let possibility die.
This is titled The Death of Possibility. Michael, you can sit down if you want to. You don't have to stand at attention while I speak. Possibility dies every day. It dies from indifference, it dies from laziness, from lack of imagination, and frequently it dies from fear. Silverstein wrote this little poem to ask if you are capable of killing possibilities. He said, "You have a magic carpet that will whiz you through the air to Spain or Maine or Africa if you just tell it where. So will you let it take you where you've never been before? Or will you buy some drapes to match and use it on your floor?" How many magic carpets do you think we have collectively lying around on our floors, in our homes, and in our offices? How many are rolled up and stored in the basement or the attic? I think about the things that have held me back in my life, the magic carpets I put on the floor and anchored there with heavy furniture. They look so pretty there, I told myself. I don't have time to fly around the world, I explained to my ambition. What will people think of me, I asked my more practical spirit. For me, it had been fear that made possibility die. When I made myself lock fear in a closet, when I grew strong enough to tell my spirit to go ahead and try, I've always been astonished by the possibilities that opened up to me. I once lived in a tiny town that was really never going to amount to anything. And I lived there because my family lived there. If I left, I told myself, I would be surrounded by nothing but strangers. But a friend moved away to a big city far from my tiny town, and I found the courage to go to visit her. And that's when I saw a possibility for myself. I moved there without a job, without a place to live, with only that one friend who would hold my hand and put me and my family up until we found a house of our own. And what I found was a new career, a new church, Unitarian, of course, a new way to finish my education at night school, and a new group of friends who were as strong as my family. My fear had almost killed these possibilities. Until that moment, I had thought only in impossibilities, and I never gave in to that kind of fear again. The late Muhammad Ali said, "Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small people who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact," he said. "It's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare." Whenever fear is holding you back from possibility, remember that. Recall the times you have ignored fear and done something astounding. Think about the possibility of eating a chair. Think about what isn't on your map that is yet to be discovered. Think about what you might be right in front of you if you just open your eyes. When someone knocks on the door, think that they're about to give you something large or tell you you're forgiven, suggests Odette Folson in her poem, We're Not Done Yet. Because, said an unknown philosopher, more than anything, fear blinds us. And only by stepping without hesitation into the next inch of the unknown can we build confidence in the life we are about to live. How do you get rid of fear? You close your eyes and you see a possibility. You see it here. And then you see it here. And soon it will be everywhere. Or as Aurora Levins Morales said in her poem, Vahatva, meaning you shall love in Yiddish, and I know I didn't pronounce it right, sorry. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return. Inscribe them on your doorposts. Another world is possible. Another world is possible. Each Sunday we celebrate a communion of names and milestones, and I would like to invite Michael to light the candle. Let's see, wait a minute, I have another sheet of something that was added. Okay, I'm ready. We have two visitors today, Max and Blue. Would you mind standing up? Who are visitors? Welcome. Welcome to First Jefferson Unitarian Universalist Church. We're glad to have you here. And I don't know who wrote this. They didn't sign their name, but thanks to Christine Laquise and Julia Black and friends for doing an excellent job of cleaning up our playground. Yes, indeed, they saw what a mess it was, and they got a power washer and set it right. I have two sad tales. The first one is that Lily Purdon is had tested positive for COVID, and Della wrote back and said, Lily is doing well. She tested positive on the 9th. Her case was very mild. She only had some fever, fatigue, and some minor stomach upset. She hasn't had symptoms for a few days now, so she's getting another test today. I think that was Friday or Saturday, to see if she's still testing positive. If she's negative, I can be at church tomorrow, so she must be negative because Della is here. But the kids will stay home one more week to be absolutely sure. No one else in the Purdon household tested positive, and they have been testing every couple of days to stay on top of any exposure. I also heard, but was unable to verify, that one of Ann DePomazio's twins also was tested positive for COVID. I called her and I emailed her, but have not heard back from her. So I think cards would be nice. I think Lily would be thrilled to hear from you. And I don't know which of the twins of Ann's family, so I can just say maybe send a general card to both the twins. I don't know. Let us take a moment to consider the stories that live in this community, to think about what happens when we come together, when we are apart, and how much we are part of one another's stories. Let's take a moment to share silence, and then we will listen to Misha play Mirko Birkin's improvisation on number 19. Thank you, Misha. My third response I've titled The Companionship of Possibility. Our topic this Sunday came from Soul Matters, a Unitarian Universalist service to which we subscribe, suggesting quotes and questions for worship, for small group discussions, and for our children's programs. We'll be opening children's programs sometime in the next few weeks when we feel more safe and secure, and this very topic will probably be discussed in all the classrooms. And it is my hope that we will be creating small group discussions again soon to give us a place to open our hearts in small discussion groups to discuss the things that are important to us and to support one another in the sometimes difficult path of simply living. One of the questions suggested in the small group section of the material this month was this: what would enable you to leave the life you've outgrown? It isn't necessarily that we simply want to change for change's sake. What if we've outgrown the life we are living? What if we are living by habit instead of inspiration? I found in this question a new way to look at possibility, something like the 9 dots in the front of your program. What if what is happening to you, to me, to any of us, is that we've outgrown our recent possibility and have simply become complacent with it? Well, I faced that question 3 years ago when I decided to join you as your half-time minister with the goals of growth and financial security. What if the habits of retirement, of not being required to plan or achieve or consider, had killed off unrealized possibilities in my life? And I'm going to be facing that question again when I consider that in 9 months I will be leaving you and entering another new phase of my life. What is going to enable me to leave this busy life of ministry, fellowship, problem solving, and fun to settle into retirement again? But a retirement that might offer me astonishing possibilities. Well, I'm working on the answers, plural. One thing won't satisfy me after the challenge and the rewards of you. I've got a novel I've been working on that I would like to spend more time on. I'll let you know how that turns out. I enjoyed my visit to Virginia last spring so much, I know I'll be looking at more travel when it is safe to do so. But while I'm still here, I have a question to ask you. What would enable First Jefferson to leave the life it has outgrown? Yes, you have definitely outgrown yourself. There is so much more potential and possibility that awaits all of us here. You have a whole new self out there waiting for you to discover it, to create it, to cherish it. Can you feel it? Aren't you done being a small congregation with limited assets and a big mortgage? Even if you can't see it, I can see that you have been changed by the work we've been doing in the past 3 years, even while we were doing some of it behind COVID. You have been changed by COVID itself, whether you caught it or not. You have outgrown who you were and are ready for being astonished by the possibilities of who you might become. In the next 9 months, a whole new life might be created. Think of that, and let's just start one right here, together. Well, I should warn you, I'm ready for new possibilities. No more floating in the excuse of the pandemic. I am prepared to poke you, to tickle you, to remind you, to challenge you. Another world is possible. How do you want it to happen? How will you participate? What will you contribute? I'll let you know some of the things I have in mind, and then you tell me what you see. You remember the coffee hour we had last Sunday with punch and cake and fruit plates and vegetable platters, and how exciting it was to talk with one another again? Well, that's one of the new possibilities I want you to embrace. Coffee and conversation after the service, because otherwise there is no place in our communal lives to welcome visitors, to embrace potential friends. Coffee and donuts before the service are for fine for individuals, but only a robust coming together after the service is going to give you real community, the potential for growth and change. And I want you to support me in this possibility. Will you stay for coffee? Will you bring refreshments occasionally? Will you welcome visitors and turn them into friends? And I do want to tell you there is a fruit platter, a vegetable platter, and I saw a box of something that I'm sure contains sweet. In October, we have a council meeting on the calendar. Committees, all the committees are recruiting for new members. So where do you want to be generous with your time in your life? Do not wait to be asked. But if you don't volunteer, you will be asked. You have an opportunity to choose the direction of your personal possibilities within this beloved community. That's October. In November, we will have our annual ball, a sock hop this year, with a dinner, with fun and fellowship, and with an auction of services and objects you donate. Did you see that quilt that Mary Kerwin made out in the lobby? That's just the beginning. Sometimes newcomers see this as a party for the old-timers. I don't know how that idea got started, but put it out of your mind. Everyone is welcome to the party, to the fun, and the fellowship. So offer to do something for someone else that you enjoy doing, and when people are willing to pay you for your service, the money will go to the church. I once sold knitting lessons, and now we have a group that meets regularly to knit, to crochet, and to enjoy one another's company. Another time I sold classes in journal writing, and there were quite a few people turned out and became journal writers. What is your talent? Or make room in your house by offering items you no longer use and prepare to find new items to put in their place. But that's not all that will happen in November. We will also have a congregational meeting where you will decide whether or not to change the name of the church. Just talking about that possibility gives us an opportunity to think about the future. When you consider what you want this church to be called, you have an opportunity to see into the future. What is your vision for this church in 5 years? In 10 years? In 20? You have a vision statement. You do. You have a vision statement. But truthfully, it sucks. No, seriously, it isn't a vision of anything of substance. It's just 4 pretty words stuck together. I'm going to repeat the word vision, 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 until you get so sick of me or until you get over your fear of looking beyond your possible involvement in this community. Ask yourself, what are you going to leave behind? What is your legacy for future members? What is your vision? Let us create a new vision together. In December, we will celebrate the holidays together. A choral concert is planned, a children's pageant, a Christmas Eve service. Always at this time of year, there is that tantalizing possibility of world peace. Too grand a goal? Think of it as eating a chair. Think of it as a long time goal. And then there's the new year. In January, the new year will start with a new board, new goals, a search for a new minister. In February, there will be time to consider all sorts of new ideas, new possibilities for being. In March, we will have a stewardship drive, build a new budget. Look at what we have done when we weren't even together last year. We added a professional membership manager to the payroll, to Carl's job description. We added a paid director of religious exploration. We added a paid choir director. We've added a social justice committee and a communications committee. What possibilities await you next spring as you prepare for the new fiscal year in July? I'm not done. By April, we will have all kinds of new classes, introductory classes for all the new members who will have joined, a new youth group, a small group ministries, new adult explorations. What do you want to learn? What do you want to teach? And then in May, well, if nothing else, we can celebrate my birthday. And we can celebrate all the things we've accomplished together. I think celebration is a splendid way of looking at possibilities. In June, we will prepare a flying carpet for your new minister, and we will celebrate the end of our time together, celebrate it, not mourn it, not be sorry for one single bit of it. We will hug one another and we will say, another world is possible. And maybe we'll sing. Maybe we'll sing something like, Blessed Spirit of my life. Oh, what the heck, why not sing it now and see what possibility it opens up. It's number 86 in the hymnal. This is usually the time when we join hands, but I'm not going to expect you to do that. Imagine us holding hands until it is completely safe to do so again. And I wanted something that I forgot during the communion of names and milestones was to tell you that we had 6 visitors last week. 3 of them returned today, and 2 of them are already singing in the choir. Yay! We lit this chalice for dreaming together, for being hope for one another, for having the courage to believe that a new day is dawning for us all. Gather this promise, this bright light, into your hearts and your minds. Prepare to be astonished by the possibility of them. Then we can extinguish this flame until we come together again. And I will extinguish the flame that represent the stories that live in this community, because they too live in our hearts. Somehow we are meant to wrestle the earth. Wood, clay, marble, wrestle it into forms, to seize the air, notes and words and color, into signs. We're meant to hold other breathing questions like ourselves and shudder as we part. We must go on and on as if to declare that life is worth living. To do so makes me ask with joy, what shall we fall in love with tonight? What color shall we devote our being? What instruments shall we be next? What are the possibilities? So may it be in all our lives. And now come and share food and drink and celebration with one another. Will someone please open the doors to the library? Thank you.